My dad spent his whole life slaughtering meatworms. Before he died, he made my mom swear that if anyone ever came knocking on a rainy night, she must never let them stay. She agreed readily at the time, but the moment he passed, she completely forgot about it. Not only did she take in a woman that rainy night, she even let my brother sneak into the woman's room in the dark. The next morning, the woman came out clinging to the door frame, limping like her legs were stuck together and couldn't move. As soon as she stepped out, my brother scooped her up in his arms. The woman looked terrified, tears welling up in her eyes. "Please," she begged, "just let me go home." I stared at her, swallowing hard. She probably didn't realize that her pitiful look was deadly attractive to men. Sure enough, my brother licked his lips, ignored her pleas, and threw her back onto the bed. From the room came the sounds of gut-wrenching cries for mercy. My mom spat hard on the floor. Playing innocent bet she's loving it. When my brother finally strutted out, satisfied, my mom grabbed a rope and tied the woman's limbs to the bed to stop her from escaping again. I felt a little sorry and whispered, "Mom, maybe let her go? Her wrists are bleeding from the rope." My mom slapped me hard across the face. "What the hell are you talking for? She stepped into our house. She's our property now. You think you got a say?" I clutched my swelling cheek and instantly shut up, too scared to make another sound. That night, my brother came home dead drunk, with 3 burly men in tow. I recognized them. They were the worst thugs in our village, always stealing and slacking off. Add my brother, and they were the 4 scourges of the village. My heart clenched. I called out timidly, "Bro." But he didn't even glance at me, just led the men straight toward the room where the woman was tied up. I bit my lip and stood in the doorway. "Bro, you're drunk." Before he could say anything, my mom rushed out, yanked me aside, and gave me a beating while panting. "Men are the sky. When men want some fun, what the hell are you butting in for?" I covered my head with my arms, sobbing and begging. "I won't do it again, Mom. I swear." The 4 of them kept at it all night. When the room finally went quiet, I got up and brought the warmed-up food to the woman. As I pushed the door open, a pungent scent like blooming Chinese photinia hit me. Her body was covered in bruises. I used a scrap of my tattered shirt to wipe the fluids off her face, then held a spoon to her lips. She turned her head away. Looking at me, she said, "Humans are truly disgusting." I didn't know how to respond. I just looked down. Then she suddenly chuckled. "My family holds grudges," she said. "We always repay every wrong. I was only sent here for one task, but now I've stumbled into something far deeper. You brought me food today, so I'll give you this. Starting tomorrow, no one in this village should eat any meat." After hearing her words, I felt relieved and left with the tray. The next day, she was dead. No one knew how it happened. They only knew her body had gone stiff and hard, ice cold like a block of frozen meat, even in the height of summer. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I swore I saw the corners of her lips curled up in a smile. My mom spat on her corpse and cursed, "Damn jinx, died so easily, wasted 2 meals on her." After she'd finished cursing, she ordered me to throw the body out. I carried the woman to the mass graveyard, the place with the heaviest yin energy. I squatted there for a long while, staring at her corpse, then suddenly turned and ran home. When I got back, my mom was squatting in the yard, holding a stick as thick as my wrist. The moment she saw me, she beat me without saying a word. I didn't dare dodge, just hugged my head and begged. When she finally tired herself out, panting heavily, I crawled back to my room. I grabbed some lime from the bedside and sprinkled it on my bleeding wounds. The bleeding finally stopped, but the mix of new pain and old bruises made my whole body a wreck. Even I was disgusted with myself. The next morning, I was jolted awake by a chorus of screams. I tumbled out of bed and ran into the yard. Under the walls were piles and piles of meatworms, fat and glistening. My brother's eyes lit up. Meatworms! Smells incredible. We haven't had them since Dad died. Look at all these jackpot. He told my mom to gather the villagers, and she went off nodding and smiling, all eager to please. Soon, the entire village's able-bodied men had gathered. Normally, this many meatworms would scare folks off, but our village is dirt poor, no one was afraid. Besides, these worms seemed weirdly sluggish. They didn't bite, barely moved, like they were offering themselves up. In no time, all the worms were caught. My mom set up a giant pot in the middle of the yard. Some people gutted snakes, some skinned them. Before long, the whole pot was bubbling with meatworms. The aroma was mouthwatering. Everyone ate to their heart's content, grease dripping from their lips. I stood to the side, swallowing saliva the whole time, but I remembered the woman's warning and clamped my jaw shut. Not just me, Great Uncle Third didn't eat either. He sat on a rock by the door, puffing on his pipe, his brows tightly furrowed. I ran up to him and pointed at the meat. Great Uncle, why aren't you eating? He used to be the village's yin-yang master, well respected in the old days. But years ago, someone from the next village, Aaron, called him a fraud, and folks started to believe it. Word spread, and soon no one trusted him. Some even ganged up to ostracize him. He'd fallen on hard times ever since, probably hadn't tasted meat in ages. Now, with a whole bowl of fragrant meat in front of him, he still held back. He sighed, his cloudy eyes staring at me. Only you're willing to hear me out anymore. If you trust me, don't touch that meat. The snakes are strange. So is the meat. I keep smelling the stench of corpses in it. Then he snorted. Feels like something else is doing the eating. Big fish eat little fish eat shrimp, but who's the big fish here? Who's really doing the eating? We don't know yet. My hand trembled. For the first time, I looked at Great Uncle and thought maybe the village really did him wrong. The next day, everyone in the village had swollen bellies. You could see lumps wriggling under their skin, like something was about to burst out. The village chief was pale as a sheet. He forced himself onto an ox cart and rode to the next village to get Aaron. Aaron shook his head over and over. Your village is cursed. You're all in deep trouble. If this had happened years ago, I might have helped. But I've leaked too many heavenly secrets over the years. I've paid the price. I've already lost one eye. If I meddle in your village's affairs now, I'll probably lose the other two. I'm old and frail. I won't last much longer. The village chief was no fool. He immediately understood what Aaron meant and gathered money from the villagers to pay him. Aaron grinned, rubbing the cash. Fine. Since you've shown such sincerity, I'll risk my life to help you. He made it sound noble, and the villagers all believed him. But no one expected him to die the very next day. They found his skeleton by the village ditch, already stripped clean. His bones were wrapped in countless meatworms. Only bits of fabric on the ground hinted it was him. When the chief saw Aaron's remains, he collapsed to the ground. Face pale as death. It's over. It's all over. Even someone as powerful as Aaron is dead. What are we supposed to do now? Just wait to die? Just then, my mom spotted me trembling in the corner. She yanked me up by the ear. Why are you fine? Why is your stomach flat? What's wrong with you? Go save your brother or I'll beat you to death. My mom beat me until blood poured from my nose and mouth. The villagers all stood by, watching intently. Just as she was about to beat me to death, Great Uncle Third banged his tobacco pipe 3 times against the cowhide drum and saved me. Hunched over, he said, Adam's life is under my protection. Don't make it hard on the boy. As for what's plaguing you all, I have a way to fix it." Only then did everyone suddenly remember that this frail old man used to be a famed yin-yang master. The village chief, with nothing left to lose, decided to let him try. If it didn't work, they could always kill me later. Great Uncle Third gave me a long look, then sliced open his own arm, filling a whole bowl with blood. He diluted the blood with water and gave every villager a sip. "Pale-faced," he said, "I carry the righteous energy of Taoism. My blood can temporarily suppress these evil forces." The villagers, half doubting, drank the blood. Immediately, their stomachs returned to normal. Their attitude flipped completely. They began praising Great Uncle like he was a god. But he frowned and waved them off. "This isn't over yet," he said. That night, once the village was deep in sleep, I snuck over to Great Uncle's house. The moment he saw me, his expression changed, and he yanked me inside in a panic. "What are you doing here? Don't you know the village is crawling with danger these days? Walking around at night, are you trying to die?" Though he scolded me, his voice warmed me. I felt a sting in my nose and handed him the ashes I'd collected from the stove. "Great Uncle, I saw your arm bleeding today. Use this, it stops bleeding fast." He blinked, stunned. Then his eyes reddened too. He stroked my head and repeated 3 times, "Good boy, good boy, good boy." I looked out at the dark village, shrouded in black silence. After hesitating a long while, I whispered, "Great Uncle, let's leave. The people here aren't worth saving. You had to bleed a whole bowl just to suppress their affliction. If you try to cure it fully, it'll cost your life. They're not worth it." Great Uncle sighed and reached out, his trembling hand stroking my head. "Child, hundreds of lives aren't something to take lightly. When I was born, I swore to my master. I would spill my blood for Swan Yuan, and if I had to die in the path, so be it. The villagers, they may be petty, but they don't deserve to die. Hundreds of lives, I can't just walk away. Besides, it's not as bad as you think. No one's dying just yet. Once this is over, I'll take you away from here. We'll wander the world together. I'll take you to the city. I've got some savings. I'll put you through school." My eyes stung again. I nodded hard and said, "From now on, you're my real grandpa." In the warm glow of the lamplight, Great Uncle smiled kindly and handed me a jade pendant. "Hold on to this. The village is drowning in resentment now. People aren't quite people anymore. This will protect you when it matters. Also, if I'm not around, trust no one." His gaze was intense. I nodded without hesitation. But I never got to see that day. 3 days passed and the situation remained unsolved. The villagers' bellies swelled again, bigger than before. Their skin stretched tight and transparent, like the things inside were about to burst out. Fear devours reason. My brother stared at Great Uncle with burning eyes. "Great Uncle saved us once, he can save us again. He's old, better him dead than us." My alarm bells rang. I rushed to stand in front of Great Uncle. My mom grabbed me and hurled me aside. My head smashed against a rock. The dizziness came fast, and just before I passed out, I saw Great Uncle staring at me, eyes full of worry. When I woke again, it was already night. I struggled to get up, and all I saw was a massive iron pot and Great Uncle's torn clothes and bare white bones. I crawled over and gathered his bones one by one, wrapped them in his clothes, and buried them at the mass grave. Afterward, I went back to where the woman's body was dumped. 5 days had passed, yet the corpse hadn't rotted at all. In fact, it looked even more radiant. I slowly squatted down, eyes burning with hatred. I said, "Well, it's done. The last man who could save them is dead. Don't disappoint me now. That night, the village chief proudly brought someone from the city. "This is Tony," he announced. "He may be young, but his skills are legendary." Tony ignored him, scanning the area before locking eyes on me. He stared so hard I flinched, shrinking back. Fortunately, he soon looked away. "This isn't just about eating snakes," he said to the chief. "Has anyone died recently? A woman?" My mom squeezed through the crowd, nodding and bowing. "A girl came to our house a few days ago. She died. Don't know if it's related." Tony's brow twitched. "Where's the body?" My mom yanked me out and pointed. "He dumped it." Tony gave me a long look, then nodded. He told the others to go home and wait for news, leaving only me behind. As my mom left, she pinched my arm hard and hissed in my ear. "Use your head. Do whatever he says. If your brother doesn't make it, I'll beat you to death." I shivered and said weakly, "Got it." Only then did she leave, satisfied. Once the others were gone, Tony stared at me, full of certainty. "You know what's going on, don't you?" My heart jumped. I shook my head. Tony pressed on. "Everyone else is drenched in resentment. You, though you're clean. How do you explain that?" I kept shaking my head. "I really don't know. If I did, I'd have said something already. I wouldn't have just watched them kill Great Uncle." I trailed off, head hanging. Tony snorted. "Just cheap tricks. But they sure fooled all of you." My head snapped up. "What do you mean?" Tony was silent for a moment, then said, "A yin-yang master's powers are not what you think. If he didn't want to die, your lot couldn't have touched him." Cold sweat soaked my back. "You mean Great Uncle let them kill him, but why?" I tried to press further, but Tony refused to say more. He grabbed me and told me to take him to the mass grave to find the woman. I refused at first. Tony didn't push. He just said calmly, "Will you take me yourself? Or should I ask your mom to make you?" The mention of my mom made me lower my head and start walking. As I trudged ahead, I muttered, "There are no good people in our village." Tony didn't seem to mind. "I know. So what?" I glanced at him, surprised. "Why would you try to save a bunch of bad people then?" Tony stopped and looked at me seriously. "Because I'm a Taoist. My job is to slay evil and keep the balance between yin and yang. Whether people are good or bad, that's not my concern." I puffed my cheeks. "You don't care about right or wrong. Save whoever, then you're no better than them." Tony suddenly laughed. "Maybe I'm not a good person, but I'm a damn good Taoist." We chatted on and off like that until we reached the mass grave. The moment Tony saw the body, his expression changed. For the first time, I saw real gravity in his face. His brows knotted tightly. "This isn't just complicated," he said. "This thing, it's not human." I felt a chill, but I wasn't surprised. Tony laid the woman's body in a spread eagle position, then pulled 5 thick, long nails from his backpack and hammered them into her palms, ankles, and forehead. With each nail, a piercing scream echoed through the air. I trembled in fear, squatting on the ground. Tony shot me a glare. "Cover your ears. Don't let her bewitch you." I reached up with shaking hands and covered my ears. I didn't know how much time had passed before Tony, face pale, pried my hands away. Sweat dripped from his forehead like rain. Gasping for breath, he said, "I need to go down the mountain to retrieve something. For now, I've nailed down her 7 souls. She won't cause any trouble tonight. But you must guard her until I return. Listen carefully, don't let anyone near her. Got it?" The thought of guarding her made me shudder. I stammered, I'm a little scared." Tony lightly patted my shoulder. "No need to be. For one, I've pinned her down, she can't do anything. And 2, there's someone who put a hook on you. For their own reasons, They won't let anything happen to you either. A hook? My heart jumped. Was it great uncle? Tony didn't answer directly. He only said, "Just do what I told you. When this is all over, I'll tell you." I had no choice but to nod. That night, I sat curled up beside the woman's corpse, my head echoing with her screams from earlier. Tony had insisted she couldn't hurt me, but still, what if? I took a deep breath and said to her tremblingly, "I've done nothing wrong to you. Please don't harm me. I actually hoped you'd succeed, but I'm just a kid. When Tony nailed you down, I couldn't stop him. Please, don't repay kindness with vengeance." As I muttered to myself, rustling suddenly came from the bushes. I shrieked in terror, but before I could react, someone kicked me hard to the ground. The sound died in my throat. In the moonlight, I saw it was my brother who had kicked me. My brother glared at me. "Scream again and I'll kill you!" I shrank back in silence. He reeked of alcohol, and behind him came the other 3 village thugs, also clearly drunk. I looked at him warily. "Bro, what are you doing here? This place, it's cursed." My brother just chuckled and ignored me. He squatted down and reached for the woman's clothes. I stared in horror. He was going to. "Bro," I rasped. "She's dead. Don't mess with her anymore." Before I could finish, he kicked me again, knocking me flat. He stared down at me viciously. "Say another word, and I'll kill you." I shut my mouth immediately. He wasn't bluffing. To him, I was no different than a stray dog. They finally left, just before dawn. Once they were gone, I stepped forward to tidy the woman's clothes. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but her face looked more flushed now, and even her body felt warm to the touch. Could it be? Just then, Tony returned. He saw the pale look on my face and casually asked, "Nothing happened last night, right?" I shook my head quickly. "Nothing happened." Tony hummed in response and said no more, heading straight for the woman. But the moment he looked at her, his face changed dramatically. He rushed to me, grabbed my wrist, and stared into my eyes. "Are you sure nothing happened last night?" Her resentment, corpse, energy, and malice all surged. One misstep, and your entire village dies. The whole village would die. I touched the bruises still aching on my body and answered firmly, "Nothing happened. I was the only one here." Maybe I looked too certain Tony actually believed me. He took a deep breath and told me to go find a coffin painted with red lacquer in the village. He specifically instructed, "Make sure it's carried by 4 strong, able-bodied young men, the kind who seem kind-hearted." I nodded. After all, it had to be strong men. This coffin wasn't light. As for kind hearts, maybe he needed their righteous energy. Since I was acting under Tony's orders, the villagers were quick to help. Soon, 4 muscular young men followed me up the mountain. When we arrived, Tony had already removed the long nails from the woman's body. Strangely, despite being nailed down all night, there wasn't a single mark on her body. I didn't have time to ask. Tony was urging us to help load her into the coffin. I still found it odd. She was so skinny. Couldn't he manage by himself? But the moment I grabbed her arm, I understood. She was unbelievably heavy. All 6 of us had to work together just to lift her. Once we got her into the coffin, we collapsed to the ground, panting for air. One of the men, summoning his courage, asked Tony, "Taoist, sir, what's going on? She's heavier than a plowing ox." Tony's expression eased a little. He pointed at the body. "Hard to explain. Her corpse, energy, and resentment have skyrocketed. It's nearly become physical substance. That's why she's so heavy." Another man, pale-faced, asked nervously, "So now that she's in the coffin, nothing else will happen, right?" Tony stood and shook his head. "It's still not enough. That's why I had you come up here." The 4 of them looked at Tony in confusion, But before they could react, Tony slit their throats with a single stroke each, swift, clean, right through the neck. Their warm blood splashed onto my skin. I stared at Tony, stunned. So did they, eyes wide in disbelief, dead before the shock could fade. They died with eyes wide open, unwilling. I stared at Tony in horror. Why? Why did you do that? But Tony didn't answer. He calmly opened their chests, collected a full bowl of blood, then mixed the four together and left it under direct sunlight to dry. When it was all done, Tony let out a long breath, wiped the sweat from his brow, and sat beside me. I shifted away ever so slightly. He glanced at me. No need to fear me. I won't kill you. I stayed silent for a long while before asking. Then what about them? Why kill them? We're poor folk. Those were some of the only good men we had. Did they do something wrong? Why them? Tony looked at me deeply. I didn't want to. I killed them to save more people. I stiffened. Everyone's born of their parents. Their lives matter too. And they were good men. You killed good people to save a bunch of bad ones. Is that your idea of justice? Tony narrowed his eyes. Yes, that's my path. Sacrifice one to save 100. Minimize the loss of life. That's my way. Maybe my way is wrong. But if you want me to admit that, come back when you have the power to make me. I took a deep breath. I didn't have that power. Tony stopped talking to me. He picked up the bowl of blood, now almost congealed in the sun, and began drawing symbols all around the coffin. When he was done, he was ghostly, pale, gasping for breath. He leaned on me as we walked down the mountain. The village chief and the others were already waiting at the foot of the hill. They rushed over eagerly when they saw Tony. Master Taoist, how did it go? Is it solved? Tony's voice was weak as he replied. Not yet, but for now, it's stable. I've expended too much today. I can't do any more. Tomorrow, I'll come back and finish the job. Bury her. Everyone sighed in relief at Tony's words, smiling and praising his abilities. As for the 4 men who died, not a single person asked about them. The mountain roads were rough. Tony was weak, and he was closest to me, so naturally he stayed at my house that night. In the dead of night, I knocked on Tony's door. He looked at me and straightened up, asking solemnly, "What do you want?" I took a deep breath and looked at him. You still owe me an explanation. You promised to tell me who's attached to me, and what really happened with Great Uncle. After I finished, Tony curled his lip. You don't really believe there's such a thing as kindness without a reason, do you? You and that so-called Great Uncle were complete strangers. Think about it. Why would he sacrifice his life to save you? The candle on the table flickered. I looked at Tony and asked softly, "Then tell me, why?" Tony lowered his head in thought, then looked at me. "Did that Great Uncle give you anything?" "Anything at all." I thought for a second, then pulled the jade pendant from my pocket and handed it to him. Tony turned it over in his hand, then suddenly smiled. "Well then, everything makes sense. This pendant is called a soul-guiding pendant. It's used to switch souls. If I'm right, your great uncle must have been nearing the end of his life, suffering the 5 losses and 3 lacks. He set his sights on your body. So he devised a trap to make you willingly wear this pendant. Once the yin energy seeped into you, he could take over your body without lifting a finger." "Wait a minute," I interrupted, frowning. "You said he suffered the 5 losses and 3 lacks. But he looked fine to me. Nothing seemed off." Tony sighed. "The 5 losses and 3 lacks aren't just about physical defects. The 5 losses are widowhood, solitude, true abandonment, disability, and despair. Did your great uncle ever have a wife or children?" I shook my head. "He never married." Tony stroked his chin. Then there you have it. He suffered the lack of solitude. After Tony spoke, I felt like a deflated balloon, slumping into my chair. Even though I believed most of it, that man was the only one who'd ever truly cared about me. I refused to give up. You're not lying to me, right? Tony suddenly smiled. I may not be a good person, but I've never stooped to lying. I've always been above board. Besides, lying to you does me no good. After that, I fully believed him. Yes, from the moment we met, he'd been brutally honest, and he had no reason to deceive me. I gritted my teeth, got up, and knelt before him, banging my head on the floor 3 times. Can you save me? I don't want to die. But Tony just shook his head calmly. I can't. My mission is to slay demons and ghosts, to maintain the balance of yin and yang. I don't meddle in personal karma. I'm sorry. I stumbled out of Tony's room in a daze. The cold moonlight lay on the table. My heart was heavy with sorrow. When I was alive, people treated me like a dog. Now, even facing death, no one cared. I clenched my fists. Why? Why was I always someone else's stepping stone? Since no one would save me, I'd have to save myself no matter the cost. The next day, Tony told the entire village to gather at the mass grave. With lives on the line, no one dared be late. They headed up the mountain before dawn in droves. On the way, Tony looked at me several times as if he wanted to speak but held back. I forced a smile and said, "It's fine. I understand. My whole life, I've been neither human nor ghost. Maybe it's better to end early. I just hope my next life is happier." Tony sighed in relief. "It's good that you've come to terms with it." I kept my head down and said nothing more. Not causing trouble was good. Tony told us to dig a pit. No matter how much strength you had, everyone had to shovel at least 1 scoop of dirt. Tony explained, "You ate her kin. You caused her death. No matter how you calculate it, you owe her. Today, each of you will give 1 scoop of nourishing earth. From now on, past grudges are settled. The bridge is the bridge. The road is the road." I looked at the crowd coming and going and felt only bitterness. A life, to them, could be repaid with a single scoop of dirt. Justice. What a joke. After the burial, everyone sighed in relief. But Tony said, "It's not over. Tonight, someone must guard the grave. But beware those who guard it may absorb dark energy and feel weak. Still, it's nothing serious." Everyone looked at each other. No one volunteered. Tony said, "Since no one's willing, then the person who directly caused her death." Before he finished, my mom shoved me forward. "Let my son do it. He's willing." Tony looked at me deeply. "You." I cut him off. "I'll do it." I didn't have long to live anyway. Might as well take the job. Getting tainted by dark energy wouldn't be doing her any favors. Tony nodded. Who guarded the grave didn't matter to him as long as someone did. As soon as they left, I grabbed the shovel, dug open the grave, and wiped the blood sigils clean from the coffin with my sleeve. Before long, banging sounds echoed from inside the coffin. I exhaled deeply. It worked. That night, I returned to the village. Everyone's belly was bloated. Some even had meatworms crawling out, still bloody, hissing as they flicked their tongues. When I got home, I saw my brother's corpse. My mom, weak and trembling, reached out to me, asking for help. I kicked her aside. "If you never treated me like a son, why should I treat you like a mother?" Tony was collapsed in bed, pale as a ghost. Sealing the serpent woman had drained nearly all his strength. He could barely keep himself alive, let alone deal with the village's mess. Tony stared at me in terror. "Why? Why did you do this?" I sat down in front of him. "Why?" My eyes flashed. "Because I want to live. I begged you to save me, and you refused. So I helped myself. I released the serpent woman. Tony forced out a question. You want to live, even if it means sacrificing the whole village. I nodded. Their lives matter, but so does mine. Who says one is worth more than the other? You have your way. I have mine. Sorry. Tony closed his eyes and said nothing more, letting the meatworms swarm over him. After everyone in the village was gone, the woman helped me deal with the pendant. Just as I was about to leave, she called out to me. You knew what I was from the beginning, didn't you? Though it was phrased as a question, her expression said she was certain. I knew I couldn't lie, so I admitted it. Yes. When she heard my answer, she curled her lips. Good. Back at your place. You helped me. I told you not to eat meat. You avoided a disaster. Later, you broke my seal. I helped rid you of the thing haunting you. So now we're even. This should have been a clean slate between us, but your father slaughtered many from my clan. Tell me, how should that be repaid? I told you from the start my clan holds grudges. We never let things go.